Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about functions and what we need to be able to do more functions like int main. So every program is going to need an int main, and this tells the program where to start, and then we're able to call other functions that help out our program like calculator. So first thing I want to talk about is every function needs a function prototype. This helps the compiler understand what it's going to be compiling beforehand. So this just tells it that we have a return value of integer. Our function name is calculator, and then we're going to pass in an integer, another integer, and a char. So we do this usually in our header to keep things a little bit cleaner. And then if we go into our actual CPP file, we can see that our calculator function is here. We have the return value. We have an integer of number 1, an integer of number 2, and a char of operation for our calculator. There's two ways you can pass values in. You can pass it by reference, which has an ampersand, or you can pass it by value, which is the normal way with no ampersand. Pretty much the difference you need to remember is scope. So if we were to look at our main function here, main.cpp, we can see that we call our function down here, and we declare our variables in the scope of main. So when we actually go into calculator, if we pass it by value, we're going to be pretty much making a copy of this value that's put in there, and then that'll be saved. If we pass it by reference, it's actually not making a copy. So anytime we change number 1 here, when we go back, it changes number 1 in main too. So there can be reasons why you do one versus the other, but I probably didn't explain that the best way. So just look into C++ by reference and value and kind of get a better understanding of when to use those. But for now, we're just going to pass them by value. So we have our function here, number 1, number 2, operation. You can see that this is just pretty much our basic calculator that we did from before, except now we're, instead of outputting it to the console here, we're going to save it to output and return it. So if we look at main, we're going to do a little bit of input, which grabs number 1, number 2 in our operation, and then we're going to pass those values into calculator, and calculator is going to return the output for us, which then we can just use to output onto our console. So if we bring up our terminal here, cd into the proper folder, and we also have to, so for now that we have 2 files, we actually need to compile both of those files. So we're going to do it like that. So we have main and calculator, CPP. Going to compile it for us. Then we're going to run it. So input our first number, 10, second number 2, and we'd like to divide 10 by 2. We get 5. So we can see that it works just fine there. Another way you could do this, so you don't always have to do it in different files, but it does look the best, is we could actually take all of this and we could put all of that into our main, take our prototype, bring it up here, and then make sure we grab our main.h. And we actually just have no main.h, so let's just get rid of that. And there we go. So now what we want to do is we just have to add our include iostream. What was happening before is we were pulling this from our calculator.h file using namespace st. And get rid of that. There we go. So we should be able to compile this now, and it should run the exact same way. So if I pull that up, cd, now if we run main, 10, 2, divide, we still get 5. I highly suggest though that you end up using multiple files. It just makes things easier to read. But this is kind of how we use more than just our main function.